Ubisoft talked about Assassin's Creed Shadows pre-orders. Are they good? I want to go over the biggest reveals from the Sony show this week and way more gaming news to go over. So sit back and let's go. Yes, the State of Play happened, and sure, no Ghost of Yotei, Death Stranding 2 or other big PlayStation franchises, but I thought it was still pretty solid because there were many surprising reveals that are now on my wishlist. Of course, the new game from the Returnal makers, Housemarque, was totally one of the highlights. Sure, the trailer did not reveal a lot, only that Rahul Kohli is the main character, but I think it's nice to know that at least another big single player game from Sony's own studios is coming after all the live service cancellations. In the blog post, we by the way learned that Saros is a third-person action game and that it should be more forgiving than Returnal, so it will still go for the roguelite approach, but give you way more permanent upgrades between runs. It's dropping in 2026. Another 2026 game that got announced is Tides of Annihilation. It immediately jumped out because of the insane graphics and the huge colossal knights that we get to climb, but also fight in a pretty interesting combat system. They also dropped an 11-minute gameplay demo where we see main character Gwendolyn switch between special knights that she can summon that all have distinct powers, and they call it a co-op style gameplay but in a single player game. The idea is that you have to smartly combine the powers of these knights and summon the ones that you really need in order to be successful. So while walking through this destroyed London gives me a ton of Stellar Blade vibes, the combat is more hack and slashy than that title from last year. I will be live reacting to the gameplay in my Monday stream, by the way, where we'll fully watch it. A link to that will be in the video description for if you are curious. And speaking of Stellar Blade, DLC for the game was announced. It's a crossover between the other game from the same developers, Project Nikkei. I hope I pronounced that right. It seems to include a new area and also a boss fight against man, which is very exciting. The DLC is coming in June, and that's also when the game will be out on PC. Yes, Days Gone Remastered is real and dropping April 25th, and it has more than I anticipated. So, next to of course the DualSense support, improved visuals and draw distance, they got a quality and performance mode. There will also be new content, like a permadeath mode, enhanced photo mode, new accessibility features to be more on par with the recent PlayStation releases, a speedrun mode, but the most exciting addition is the Horde Assault, where we go back to familiar story locations, but now have to survive as long as possible against increasingly difficult enemies. Including of course the hordes, and seems like they will increase the horde sizes during this mode. So I think the max in the regular game was 500, while most hordes were like 300. So maybe we get even larger hordes in this mode on PS5 and PC. I totally look forward to streaming it when it releases. A $10 upgrade if you already own the game, by the way. New trophies, like let me know if you will get the remaster in the comments down below. Before we look at other news, let's quickly go over some other highlights from the State of Play. The Final Fantasy looking Lost Soul aside, will now be launching on May 30th on PS5 and PC. The new trailer looks pretty awesome, especially the environments. Hell is Us looks pretty cool too. This one is coming on September 4th. I know the Lies of P DLC was the highlight for many people, and damn, the new bosses and environments look really awesome. I skipped the base game, but looking at this trailer, I'm like, I should probably go and play it. So it will be out in the summer. There's a demo for the Pirate Yakuza if you want to try it out before the release. Metal Gear Solid Delta's August 28th release date got confirmed with that leaked trailer that we got last week. Borderlands 4 showed a new trailer focused on new movement abilities like a grapple hook and double jump. We saw quite some new weapons too, but nothing that really jumped out so far. Now, they did announce a dedicated State of Play in the spring for the game, where they will unveil everything with hopefully a focus on what is actually new. And we learned that the game is out on September 23rd, 6 years after Borderlands 3. Now, you might have seen these news stories, GTA 6 release window narrowed by the Borderlands 4 release date, but to be fair, I think nothing really changed. Like, both games are of course owned by Take-Two. We know Borderlands 4 would not launch close to GTA 6, but really Rockstar always said fall 2025. So that would always have been October or November. Okay, maybe now end of October makes more sense to give Borderlands 4 some breathing room, but yeah, I don't think a lot has changed. And I think a delay to 2026 is still highly likely. Let me know your highlight of the State of Play in the comments down below. We got some more PlayStation news because it's going pretty well with them actually. It's pretty wild. Now let's move on to the Ubisoft news first, and of course, if you like these big gaming news roundup videos, leave a like, that would really help me out, and subscribe, because we post one of these every Sunday. As you might know, I get weirdly excited from listening to gaming investor calls because it gives you a unique peek behind the curtain of a company and their way of thinking. They also always try to spin negative things with more positive sounding words, like this week we had Ubisoft's call, and they talked about how they will maintain strict control on recruitments, so basically hire way less people. Instead, they will be relying on internal mobility. So the people that work at the company just have to work way more. Internal mobility. I thought it was a fascinating way to put it. But of course, these shareholder meetings also reveal a lot of new info about the current situation at the gaming company and the future. Before I touch on an Assassin's Creed Shadows update, first some smaller things, because Ubisoft once again noted how Star Wars Outlaws during the holiday season did not deliver on their expectations, even with the discounts and the patches, but they seemingly do plan to release a deluxe edition of the game by the end of March. We already have a gold and ultimate edition with like all the DLCs and some cosmetics, so I'm really curious what this deluxe edition will entail, maybe some new outfits. Either way, something for Outlaws will be happening in the coming months. Without Rainbow Six Siege, the situation at Ubisoft would be way worse. Like, the game is still doing very well for them. Just as many people played last December as the December the year before. And that's totally noteworthy because Marvel Rivals of course came out, and that did hurt other service games, but not Rainbow Six. And the people that spend money on Rainbow Six Siege also spend more this December than at any other month in the game's lifecycle, which is wild. And right now, a little after this video goes live, they will reveal big plans for the future, and this seemingly includes a major engine overhaul and visual upgrades. I will talk more about it next week if there's something noteworthy. Now on to Shadows, because as you might have heard, the pre-orders are tracking solidly, comparable to Odyssey. They note that most of the pre-orders will still happen in the coming weeks before launch, and that they just opened, of course, the digital pre-orders. Right now, it's tracking the same as Odyssey. So that is pretty good, although it is worth noting that Odyssey had a pretty slow start because it released less than 1 year after Origins and close to Red Dead Redemption 2. So I don't think this says a lot right now, but good word of mouth made Odyssey the second most successful game in the franchise. Ubisoft notes that now 40+ million people have played it, and that's now close to Valhalla in terms of unit sales, and Valhalla is the most successful Assassin's Creed ever. So they of course imply that Shadows could reach these big heights as well. It's really going to come down to quality, and the 4 months delay from the original release date will of course help at least to get a very polished game out. It will be fascinating to see how it goes. We're a month away from launch now. I at least can't wait to get lost in this world. Let me know if you think this will be the success that Ubisoft needs in the comments down below, and I will of course be keeping you up to date here on the channel. Now time for quick shots and news stories I will go over quickly, because while the PlayStation Studios output is very limited, with only one of the games shown in the 45-minute state of play, business is doing better than ever. They namely shipped 9.5 million PS5 units in October, November and December, so that's 1/3 of all the Xbox Series consoles that are out there, period. Sony sold that for the PS5 in 3 months. The PS5 is doing as well as the PS4 at the same point in the life cycle, and we did not have an official price cut for the console yet. Like, it's a way more expensive machine than the PS4 was at this point. This one is interesting. 42% of the new PS5 consoles were sold to new users, which is big. They made $2.1 billion in profit in that 3-month period, and that makes up for the cancellations and the Concorde failure. But imagine, how good would the PS5 be doing if the PlayStation Studios were firing on all cylinders? Don't hold your breath for Wonder Woman. The game recently got rebooted and is still years away. When they dropped that trailer at the end of 2021, they only started working on it, but last year they rebooted things again, and actually a lot of the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War developers left after a new IP they were working on after Shadow of War got cancelled. In this big Bloomberg article from Jason Schreier that I will link to in the video description, we also learned that Hogwarts Legacy DLC is still happening. Previous rumors suggested that it would launch in 2025. Rocksteady is making a new single-player Batman game, but that's of course still far away. Gotham Knights developer Warner Bros. Montreal is seemingly planning a Game of Thrones game, and that the way forward for Warner Bros. Games as a whole might be to license their IP to other developers, similar to Marvel games. But yeah, this might mean that they will close down some of their own studios. Like, it will probably be 10 years before we see a new game from Monolith Productions, looking at how far Wonder Woman is. And that sucks, because this was far from the developer's fault. So, one more info on this, I did a deep dive on the React channel. I will leave a link to it in the video description. Now time for the rumor roundup, where we look at the biggest leaks and rumors of the week, and I give stars, with 3 being I believe it, and 1 being let's take this with a huge grain of salt. Yes, we got a weekly this Xbox game is coming to PlayStation rumor, with this week the most prominent one being Hellblade 2, with Nate the Hate saying that the announcement will be coming soon, and Jess Gordon saying that it could already launch in April. So that would be in the spring, just like Forza Horizon 5, Indiana Jones, and Doom. So 4 Xbox Game Studio games are coming to PS5 in the spring, which is kinda wild. Really curious if Hellblade 2 will find more of an audience on PS5. It being an Xbox exclusive was always kind of a mismatch, because the first title released almost a year later on Xbox One after having released on PS4. We know it did not do well on Xbox. It ranked 37th in the US sales charts the month it came out, and also on Steam it had fewer players than Redfall and Hi-Fi Rush, other titles that also launched on Game Pass day one. So they kinda need that PS5 money. 3 stars for this. All the Xbox games that have a potential to sell on PS5 will come, and I will of course keep you posted here. About has not been confirmed for PS5 yet, but it will come to PC and Xbox, including Game Pass, this coming week. And I hope it comes to PS5, because I played 7 hours or so thanks to an early code, and really enjoyed my time with it. Now, it doesn't do anything really special, but the world is very rewarding to explore, and the side quests can be interesting. So I especially recommend you check it out if you have Game Pass. On the PlayStation Plus Extra side, we get a bunch of new games on February 18th, like Star Wars Jedi Survivor, but also Lost Record, Bloom and Rage, the new spiritual successor to Life is Strange from the original creators. The second part, by the way, launches in April and will also be day one on PlayStation Plus. Like, there's no hype for this title whatsoever. I'm at least not seeing it, so having the PS Plus deal will help Donut, who really needs a win. But I also hope that this week, when people start playing, the reviews will be great and everyone's like, yeah, you gotta check it out, because I love these types of games, but yeah, if it's not good, then I will probably skip it. Yakuza Like a Dragon Hawaii, of course, also launched this week, and I will have an Assassin's Creed Shadows video this week, maybe even 2. We played a new version of Crimson Desert, so expect coverage on that, and of course a gaming news roundup like this at the end of the week. So subscribe to not miss it, a like would really help me out, and check out my most recent Shadows video by clicking on the screen. I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.